The American political climate, and hear me out on this, please, before you turn it off. The American political climate has poisoned every dialogue we have on pretty much everything right now. If you bring up a subject, all that the other person thinks about is how that subject applies to how their preferred political party has adopted a stance on it. That's it. We're going to try, I hope, as people who follow Pittsburgh's proud hockey franchise, to be a little bit better than that, because there is gray to be had. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates that I hope you'll check out. Evgeni Malkin remains a very good hockey player. Kris Letang remains a very good hockey player. Whether or not they are still at their absolute peak, and you can make different arguments, particularly as related to Letang on that front, they remain very good hockey players. Can we all at least agree on that much, right? Put down the pitchforks and the torches and the political type stances. They are very good hockey players. Okay, great. We're all going to clasp hands here and sing soon. Can we also agree, because it takes only a cursory glance to support this, that the Penguins would not be able to replace Malkin and or Letang through free agency with the state of their salary cap being what it is? Can we agree on that? Can we agree that looking at a list that's got Vince Trocheck as your most likely number 2 center replacement and John Klingberg as your most likely number 1 defenseman replacement, can we agree that those players, Trocheck and Klingberg, are not as good as Malkin or Letang right now? Can we agree on that? Can I get a hallelujah or something from the chorus? Okay, I'm going to presume those were almost all yeses, because Malkin is a better player than Trocheck, and I like Vince, and I like the idea of a local kid coming home, but Malkin's a better player. Letang is a better player than Klingberg. That one I don't even think is particularly close. Klingberg will get you a bunch of points. He's an elegant skater and everything else, but he's nothing special in his own end. Okay, so we're on the same page right there. Now, can we also agree that nothing that I just mentioned, nothing, not one syllable, had anything to do with sap or sentimentality or hoping that someday that Gino is here for his 1,000th this or that, and that Letang is here for his 1,000th this or that, and that, none of this dialogue has to have anything to do with the past, other than it would be a nice bonus. It would be nice for the franchise to be able to keep both of those players for the entirety of their careers. It would be a credit, I guess, to the way of how the Penguins do things and what their history means to them. And I can say that out loud, but not have it be the thing. And this is where the political part of this comes in. We've reached a point with our discourse where if you say something that sounds like the opposite of what you said before, then you're not expressing something real or you're not genuine. It can just be a whole lot of gray when it comes to this specific topic. This portion of Daily Shot of Penguins is brought to you by the good people at the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, where they're committed to providing food for all of our neighbors in need across Western Pennsylvania. They, in turn, need your help. Find out how $1 can be turned into 5 full meals for those in need. Visit pittsburghfoodbank.org. It's possible for the Penguins to keep both Malkin and Letang for the purposes of making sure that their team is competitive as it can be for the next couple of years or for the duration of Sidney Crosby's contract, which is, of course, 3 years, and at the same time, keep valuable, popular, treasured pieces of their past here. It's just a matter, I think, of where you put your priorities And what percentage of your decision is based on that? To me, it's really, really small, but it's there. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to say that it has absolutely nothing to do with the past. Of course it has something to do with that. It has that effect from both sides, from the team and the player. The players don't want to leave. They've made that completely clear. Both of them have, maybe even to their detriment. You know, when it comes to bargaining, it's a real thing. They know, Malkin and Letang, that if they stay in Pittsburgh, it burnishes their legacy. It burnishes their chances of winning another cup with the same core, which is what their real legacies are as players when you go through hockey history, particularly that of Letang. They know this is always where they'll be most loved. Never underestimate that as a factor for any professional athlete. There's a reason the great ones tend to stay in the cities where they made the biggest name for themselves, meaning in retirement. So yes, of course, it can be part of the thinking for management too. Remember that they have to sell tickets. Remember that the sellout streak is over. Remember that unless Vince Trocheck brings the entirety of Upper St. Clair up to every game, he's not going to sell tickets the way 71 will. And John Klingberg won't sell a single ticket because he didn't sell one in Dallas either. So there I go. This is my stance. This is how I feel. No, this is one tiny percentage of it. The big part, the overwhelming part, is that this team needs to be competitive, if not an outright contender, over the next 2 or 3 years. The best chance of assuring that is to keep the best number 2 center who's available to you and the best number 1 defenseman who's available to you. This doesn't have to be an either-or a narrative-based thing. Nor, by the way, do the Penguins need to be overcommitting or overpaying either of these players. This, too, can be part of the gray. You don't have to take one side or the other. You can say, man, I really hope they keep Gino and Tanger. But also, I'd like to see them keep Ricard Raquel or extend Tristan Jarry. There can be gray in there, too. It's okay to have opinions like that. Now I return you to your regularly scheduled programming, whatever it was that you were watching that only shows one view of things in this world. When we come back, J1Q. And today's J1Q comes from Mike Anatori, who asks, do Nathan Legare and Sam Poulin still have a future in Pittsburgh? There were glowing reports about them through their junior careers, but their introduction to pro hockey has been underwhelming. With the Penguins needing young talent, these kids should be part of the next wave. Yes, Mike, they should be, but right now, only one of them appears poised to be. I don't like to bury prospects before they've had a chance to at least fail at the top level, especially important prospects such as Poulin and Legare. The fact of the matter is that Poulin took a step in the right direction this past season in Wilkes-Barre. He was moved to center. He showed more fluidity at the position, less of the, how do I put this? When I watch him play, or even when I watch him practice, there's just enough Daniel Sprong looseness to his game that it makes me uncomfortable. I never feel like I know what position he's at. He's kind of all over the place. And on one hand, it's nice that he can show off his skating stride like that. You do want guys who are mobile. But when he was at the wing, it felt to me like he was never going to be a guy who fit with what Mike Sullivan wants to do, which is to be first in on the forecheck. It's not all that complicated with Sully. It never has been. There's a reason that Brian Rust is held up as the role model for prospects at all levels of the system, including those who haven't signed professional contracts. They'll show kids in a cave in Finland video of Rust because this is how you need to play at both ends of the rink. Now, when Poulin moved to center, he was able to use that speed and that shiftiness to cover more parts of the ice, which is a tool at that position. You do want someone at center who can be a little bit more tireless and take up more acreage. But I'm not sure that Poulin profiles as an NHL center, because to be an NHL center, you got to have a lot of things going on for you. You've got to be solid defensively. You've got to be winning draws. You've got to be playmaking, and that one probably still sits at the top of the list, even all these years later when hockey has advanced significantly from just being rod hockey and everybody's just going right up and down their positions. Management is very happy with Poulin's progress, and it's not an act. It's not pumping him up. There's a difference between the way they spoke about him after the AHL season and when somebody's just saying nice stuff just for the sake of nice stuff. Now, Legare, on the other hand, has a lot of work ahead. We don't have to wonder what management thinks of him when all we have to do is see that J.D. Forrest was making him a regular healthy scratch in Wilkes-Barre. That's not a decision that gets made unilaterally, at least not over any sustained period. In other words, a minor league coach, if he has an issue with a player, something that he did right before the game or whatever, he's going to have the latitude to make that kid a scratch. When it's a prospect and you're regularly sitting him, and you know the organization has invested a draft pick and development time and everything else in him, that's going to be discussed with the director of player development and probably all the way up to the organization's general manager. So you don't have to wonder what the Penguins think of Legare right now. I have liked this kid a lot for a long time. He has a heavy shot, an authoritative finish, and he got a lot faster in the time that he's been with the Penguins, and he always had the natural build. But the Penguins need to see a lot more out of him in terms of energy, feistiness, win the puck, control the puck, don't throw the puck away, all those Brian Rust type traits. They're obviously not ready to bury him, but out of the two players that you mentioned, it ain't close right now. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. Next week, I'll be flying to Montreal to cover the NHL draft, reporting from the NHL draft floor at Bell Center. It's going to be an awful lot of fun, and there might be a whole lot of other news in addition to that. Thanks so much for listening.